This conference will now be recorded.
Fantastic, thank you. Today is April 6th at 7:30, and we'll begin the Intergovernmental Relations Committee. Present are committee members Glassburn, Schumann, and Heeman, as well as President Jones, councilpersons Broussard, Kelly, and Williamson, despite great difficulty. And as well as the Law Department, Finance, HR, the Police Chief Wagner, I think our engineer left, and guests. Tonight we're talking about 2021-24, which will be, the intent is to amend to only contain the dispatch contract, and then we'll have separate legislation at council that is the prisoner contract, with both of which are with Fairview Park. Since we last met on this last week, we've received some additional information from Chief Wagner and his team, as well as Councilman Kelly. In summary, if I think it's fair to say, we got figures for both North Olmsted and Fairview Park for the years 2018, 2019, and 2020 regarding prisoners and cost. It appears, generally speaking, Fairview Park will be about 12 to 15% of our prison population if we were to do this, and that the costs are higher than the rate we were charging. However, it appears that over the aggregate of a 3-year contract, that those shortfalls would be somewhere in the vicinity of $30,000 to $35,000 in total. That is in comparison to the dispatch contract, which we would be receiving $225,000, and it appears our costs are considerably less than that. So with all that said, I think I'll open it first to Chief Wagner, if I'm not putting him too much on the spot, and say, is there anything I got incorrect, or is there anything you'd like to add before we start discussing?
Thank you, sir. So yes, I did have a chance over the week to talk to Chief Shepard from Fairview Park Police Department, and he did forward over all the numbers for the last couple of years. And as you can see, that Fairview Park's numbers are quite a bit less than ours. And what I did want to tell you too on my email, as far as wages and benefits, that number, that's one of the things that we have to remember, is that includes part-time employees. And many times our part-time employees, that's what we budget for, but we don't always spend all that money. So we're using those figures as part of our fixed cost, yet we probably won't spend $5,000 in equipment repair. We won't spend the entire amount for our part-timers, because our part-timers, that's what we budget for if they work the maximum amount of hours, and they never do. So the cost is somewhat lower than what these figures show, but like I said, it's very difficult to put a number on the actual prisoner, what it's going to cost us. But we're keeping the lights on at the jail, and have our jails and our employees there regardless. I did also have in our conversation that one of the things I think Councilwoman Williamson brought up is that they are going to take care of their prisoners 100%. So we are going to bill that $65 a day, and we're going to bill the cost of the meals on top of it. We're also going to, and Chief Shepard was okay for us billing for any squad runs that our city does for their prisoners. He's okay to foot the bill for that. Again, they don't have a lot of prisoners as it is, and the amount of prisoners that are going to be taken to the hospital by squad would be considerably less. So if anybody has any questions about the figures, hopefully I can answer them. But our North Olmsted's quite a bit busier than Fairview Park, so I think that's pretty obvious by the numbers.
Thank you, Chief. At this time, I'll open to committee. Are there any questions or comments from committee? Councilwoman Heeman?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just like to reiterate the fact that, we had planned, for a shared dispatch and to be able to take other cities in. And so, the time has come for us to do that. I think it's a good thing that we do that. I understand that there's a little bit of disparity on the prisoner end of the contract with regard to some of the costs, but I think that they will be picked up in the dispatch portion. And I think, in helping out Fairview Park, it's just a thing to do. So I am much in favor of this, even though it has a little bit of a snag to it, I think. But I think overall it's a very good program, and I support it completely, Chief Wagner.
Thank you, Councilwoman Heeman. I think I saw non-committee members with some interest. Councilwoman Williamson, if you'd like to go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too am in favor of this. I just have one question, and I don't know if it's for the law director or for our HR director, but do we assume any additional liability in doing this? And are we covered in that regard?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Thank you. We do have reciprocal insurance agreements that will be imposed, that they'll be also providing insurance to the extent that any claim arises from one of their own prisoners. There'll be sufficient insurance coverage, which we normally would have. So I don't see this as a liability issue. In addition, there's always immunities, 2744 of the RISE code, sovereign immunity, things like that will often provide us particular sufficient coverage. So I think we'll be okay.
Thank you.
Did I see other hands? Other folks would like to comment? Okay. So I'll just say it would have been my strong preference for the two sides of this deal to stand alone financially. I understand the concept that they in aggregate will be all right. But I think we're going to go forward anyway. If I'm doing this correctly, at this time, I would like to move to amend 2021-24 to only include the provisions concerning the dispatch center and to omit the provisions concerning the prisoners, and ask for a second.
I believe the law director had his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Director of Law, please go ahead.
I still wasn't, I forgot to unmute myself. Yeah, just a motion, not to actually amend it, but to recommend the amendment, just as you stated it. And then the motion on the floor, we'll amend it, and away we go. So I think that's sufficient.
Okay, then I will recommend I will move that we recommend 2021-24 to council with only provisions containing the dispatch center, and we'll address the other aspects of this in other legislation. And I will ask for a second.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Schuman. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that is a 3-0. Before I close the committee, I don't think we have any other questions about either of these bills, but since we will have both together and one will be on first reading, I just wanted to give an opportunity if there's any other questions, concerns, comments. Nope. Okay. Well, then we will close the committee meeting at 7:39. Thank you, everyone.